Over on the left.
How can you question it?
Well, I suppose that's creating the mirror effect. From
I'm showing
Alice's
now,
point of
but-
view, he's on the right.
I'm showing we're live, but I don't have anybody logged in yet. I'm gonna
Okay.
log in.
I'll take a peek on my phone to see.
Yeah, we're good, Chris. I've got 4 pop on.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to be coming back in session shortly to, for the purpose of considering 4 land use items that were before us today. Before we call roll, just want to again recognize there is a mask order in effect. There are requirements and caveats, some of which are for speaking in public or speaking for broadcast, which we are doing up here today, and certainly exceptions for personal medical reasons. If you are going to give public comment and you prefer to wear your mask or take it off, that's fine. The podium's about 12 feet away, so if you want to take it off, be heard clearer, that is fine as well. So the 4 items that we are considering today is use by special review for the Redbird wedding and event venue, special use by review for the Silver Creek Sporting Club, which will be continued. The request for an extension for filing of the final plat and conditions for Peak Vista's filing 2, and a rezone of 60 acres into 2 A2 lots versus A. So those are the items to be considered today. With that, the time's now 1:04. Amanda, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Richardson?
Here.
Commissioner Thayer? Here. Commissioner Pettit?
Here. Okay. Generally, the hearings, all hearings run in the same general format. Staff will provide an overview presentation of what's being applied for. Applicant has the opportunity to speak. Commissioners may or may not have questions at that time of the applicant or staff. We'll invite public comment, invite response from the applicant and our staff, perhaps have additional questions, and then make either a final decision or a continuance if we feel we need more information or there are facts that aren't evident. So with that, the first item we have was the Redbird Wedding and Event Center. Is that you, Greg? Sure. Okay. While Greg's getting started, I'd entertain a motion to open public hearing on SU 20-0011.
I'll make a motion, we open a public hearing for Redbird Wedding and Event Center, or event venue, SU-20-0011.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open public hearing on the Redbird Event Center. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We're in public hearing. So, Greg, if you could.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Greg Laudensager from Community Development Services. First of all, we're taking a look at the Whitcomb Redbird Event Center, special use by review, SU 200011. This is a request to permit a wedding venue and events venue called the Redbird Event Center. This proposed gathering space would be comprised of a pavilion, refreshment area, bridal suite, restrooms, grass lawn, and parking spaces to accommodate a maximum of 150 guests. This proposed special use by review is located 4.5 miles south of the town of Elbert on North Elbert Road. The property owners are Thomas and Carrie Whitcomb. They are also the applicants. The size of the property is approximately 88 acres. A pre-application meeting was held on February 6th, 2020. A community meeting was held May 20th, 2020, and a formal application was submitted June 22nd, 2020. The referral process began on July 25th and went through, that should say August 16th, I apologize. The Planning Commission was held on October 20th, 2020, and the Board of County Commissioners is today, November 18th, 2020. Notice of public hearing was mailed to property owners within 1,320 feet of the subject property boundary on October 6th, 2020. A sign was posted on property on October 6th, 2020, and notice of public hearing was published in the Elbert County News on October 6th, 2020. Here on the left, we have the notarized certification of mailing, and on the right are the property owners within 1,320 feet. On the left, we have the notarized certification of sign posting and a photo of the sign posted on property. And here we have the affidavit of publication. Here's a vicinity map of the property. You can see on the southeast property line is North Elbert Road. Here's a zoning map. It's entirely agriculture zone property in the area. Here's a graphic of the SUR exhibit. Here are some blown up details of the exhibit. You can see where they have proposed structures and parking. A little history on this case. There was a pre-application meeting held February 6, 2020. Those in attendance were Thomas and Carrie Whitcomb, Christina Stanton, and Greg Laudenslager. On May 20th, 2020, a community meeting was held. Neighbor Lance Shep, indicated his concern that guests from the proposed event center could possibly wander onto his property that borders directly to the west. In response, the applicants outlined the protocols that would be in place to limit guests to defined areas and indicated that they would put up no trespassing signs as well as other signs indicating where guests are welcome on the property. On their property, I should say, to limit guests from wandering outside that area. On June 22nd, 2020, a formal application was made. On June 25th, a formal application was sent out for a 21-day referral. On June 16th, 2020, referral comments received with the Division of Water Resources and Kiowa Conservation District being the only agencies that had comments. Specifically, the Colorado Division of Water Resources stated the existing domestic well needs to be repermitted as a commercial well if it is to be used with any uses associated with the wedding venue, and the applicants are currently in the process of doing such. On August 28th, 2020, all necessary red lines were made to the special use by review exhibit. On October 6th, notice was published in the Elbert County News. Notice sign was posted on property and the mailers were made. On October 20th, a public hearing was heard in front of the Elbert County Planning Commission. And today, November 18th, this case is being heard by the Elbert County Board of County Commissioners. The referral process for this case were sent out to referral agencies per the Elbert County regulations. Responding referral agencies were the Elbert County Building Department, Elbert County Assessor's Office, Elbert County Health and Human Services, Elbert Fire Protection District, the Division of Water Resources, Kiowa Conservation District, Mountain View Electric Association, and Phillips 66. All of these agencies' comments were taken into consideration and were satisfied with no objection. Here's a breakdown of some of the impact fees. You can see that they're looking at a total number of around $45,000. The special use by review is evaluated based on the criteria listed in Article 3E5A through H of the Elbert County zoning regulations. A, whether the use is in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood. Staff comment. The event venue use being proposed is consistent with those of the surrounding area. This use is specifically similar to that of the Magnus Adventure Camp, the JCC Ranch Camp and Retreat Center, and the Peaceful Valley Scout Ranch. B, whether the use will not have an undue burden on available infrastructure. The uses being proposed as part of this special use by review require very little water or electricity and therefore will not have an undue burden on available infrastructure. C, whether the use will not unduly increase traffic congestion or burden the existing road system. It is not expected that these proposed uses will unduly increase traffic congestion on North Elbert Road. The traffic impact letter produced by professional engineer Brian Horan indicates that, quote, no adverse impacts to the surrounding network are anticipated should the proposed special use be approved. D, whether the use will not cause significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution. The uses being proposed will not cause significant air, odor, water, or light pollution. Noise pollution is expected to be minimal considering proximity to neighbors, terrain between neighbors, and noise mitigation techniques proposed by the applicants. E, whether all sanitation requirements will be met. Elbert County Health and Human Services has indicated that the proposed septic system needs to be installed by a professional that is licensed in Elbert County. The applicant has acknowledged this requirement and has agreed to such. F, whether the use will be adequately landscaped, buffered, and screened. The uses being proposed are adequately buffered by the ponderosa pines native to the site, as well as terrain. G, whether the use will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. The Elbert Fire Protection District has reviewed this application and has determined that all requirements have been met. Additionally, the applicant has has detailed plans and procedures to both prevent and respond to emergencies. Furthermore, the applicant has expended considerable resources in efforts to prevent and mitigate the risks associated with wildfires. In addition to the Elbert County zoning regulations, staff reviewed the application against the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. The proposed use of the property is supportive of the stated goal that Elbert County promotes strong, diverse economic development, and the policies of that goal being EG6. The county should support the development of agriculture, commerce, industry, education, healthcare, natural resource development, tourism, and residential growth. Findings and recommendations. Number one, this SUR application is in general conformance of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. It meets the criteria for approval in the Elbert County zoning regulations. The Elbert County subdivision regulations are not applicable to this application. It is compatible with existing and allowed land uses in the surrounding area and will not result in significant impact to the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and landowners of the surrounding area. Staff recommends that the Board of County Commissioners approve SU 200011 subject to conditions. Conditions of approval. The applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of a decision by the Board of County Commissioners. 2, the special use by review shall not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and a special use by review exhibit is recorded. 3, recordation of all appropriate documentation is to occur within 180 days of the approval by the Board of County Commissioners. 4, special use by review exhibit shall be updated to reflect the dimensions and square footages of the proposed grooms quarters and proposed pole barn reception area. I'd like to note that this is really up to the applicant as far as impact fees are concerned and how they want to navigate some of those impact fees. And 5, the special use by review exhibit shall be updated to show the driveway and fire access to the pole barn reception area. Again, this hinges on those impact fees. Thank you.
Greg, I had a couple of quick questions. If you could flash back, how many mailings went out? I know you had them listed. It
Yeah,
looked like about 18 or so.
I believe Carrie's saying she sent out 16.
Okay, thank you. Just for properties that large, quite a few folks within that quarter mile. So, thanks.
Yeah.
And then, how many did you attend the community meeting?
Yes, I did. That was held over Zoom back in May.
Okay, but how many folks participated in that? Just generally, I'm not.
There was about 8 or 9.
Okay.
I'd say.
And then, what was the planning commission recommendation, I'm assuming was?
The planning commission recommended approval.
Okay, was that unanimous, or was it a,
That was a unanimous,
Okay.
unanimous vote, yes.
thank you.
Let's see here. So there's a list of property owners within a quarter mile.
Thank you. Yeah, at this point, I'd like to invite the applicant up to provide any additional information.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you might want to speak a little closer to the mic, or I can turn it up.
How's that? Hi, I'm, yeah, no problem. Hi, I'm Thomas Whitcomb. This is my wife, Carrie. We're obviously the applicants for the proposed property. We've we've owned the property for a couple of years. We've been working on the property, trying to get it prepared. We've been doing a lot of fire mitigation around the property. Nobody had inhabited the property for the past 20 years. The prior owner, who sold it to us, didn't live out there himself. He just owned the property. So we've been doing a lot of cleanup. We built our personal residence on the property, so we live on the grounds as well. So we'll be, you know, at for, you know, all of the events and be involved in making sure that, you know, some of the concerns that were raised during the Zoom meeting and some of the earlier meeting around putting up some signage around the property to make sure people knew like which areas can be gone to. People were concerned maybe somebody might wander onto their property, so we said we would put up no trespassing signs around the property. We'll put up some additional signs within kind of the grounds area where the event venue will be kind of held, in the parking area, so that people know like which portion is part of our residence versus which portion that, you know, would be rented. We did have the traffic study done because that was one of the concerns with the first Zoom meeting that people had. I think noise has been something that's been raised multiple times. So our initial proposal had a kind of an outdoor pavilion. We've been looking at putting in a structure like a pole barn to help mitigate some of the noise, because obviously, you know, weddings, you know, tend to have dancing and, you know, would have music. We understand that, you know, we're in the woods, so the bulk of our property is wooded. The area in the middle of our property, kind of where the venue will be placed, is got an opening, but, you know, it's kind of wooded all around. There are a couple of neighbors that are relatively close by, where you could, you know, maybe within 100 or so yards of that area. So, you know, we've been looking at different ways of being able to mitigate, you know, the noise that could potentially happen. As, you know, we haven't come up with any exact restrictions or noise levels, or, you know, tested things out, you know, because we need to get the building built prior to that. But we understand people's concerns with that, and we want to be respectful and good neighbors, so we will be doing whatever is possible to, you know, reasonably, you know, mitigate the noise from, you know, disturbing the people around us. I think that kind of covers most of the concerns that have been raised. I think there were some concerns around fire as well, so we had the fire department out a couple of times to look at the property. They gave us some recommendations as far as, you know, fire extinguishers around some of the areas that would be utilized, like the bridal suite or the venue area itself. We've been doing a lot of mitigation. We've had professional tree service out on 4 different days, going through various aspects of the property, cleaning it up. Like I said, it hadn't been inhabited really in 20 years, so there's, you know, there are down trees on our property, so we've obviously been working around our house and the venue area first. You know, so we're continuing that. I mean, obviously live there, so we have no desire to see it, you know, fires happen out there. We're also, we'll have a designated smoking area that will be, you know, away from, you know, the forest area to try to make sure that we contain, you know, smoking and have ashtrays and things available to people so that they can be responsible when they're, you know, when they are smoking at the events. I think that kind of addresses most of the concerns that I think have been brought up in the various calls and discussions that we've heard so far.
I've got a couple questions. One is the trespassing issue. I'm looking at the map here, and it looks like part of the property is not fenced.
Yeah, the entire property is fenced.
It is
So
fenced?
the front part of our property that's along Elbert Road has a 3-pole fence along and 2 gates, a north gate and a south gate. And then the rest of the property is fenced with barbed wire.
Like agricultural fence.
Yeah, agricultural fence, just
Yeah.
T-post and barbed wire.
And then my other question is the parking for 150 cars. Will that be a developed parking area, like with gravel on it and the grass taken away and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's not for 150 cars, it's to hold 150 people, which
Okay,
the
I-
average, just to be clear, but I mean, the average is like 2.5. So
Point
we
well
have-
taken.
Yeah, we have enough parking spots that we're developing. It will all be
But it
gravel.
won't be, it'll be gravel and.
Gravel, not concrete or
Okay.
asphalt, so most are.
But not
most-
grass.
Not grass, no, it's all, most of the parking lot has been built already and the roads back to the venue area have been put in with dirt that we got from the local Elbert quarry there on Elbert Road.
Yeah, just briefly, as I was just looking at the graphic, so I assume you're residing in the existing home and garage.
Correct, yeah.
Just slightly north of that was a 40 by 60 existing building. Is that part of the venue or?
No, it's a Quonset hut, that was,
Okay.
you know, it's an existing storage building that's been there for
Okay.
20, 30 years.
And then for this graphic, you've got, from what I'm looking at, you've got a parking area for the bridal location, a small building for the bridal location, and then there's a future proposed reception location, tent location. Is that what?
Well, that's where the,
Where generally you talk
yeah,
about
so
those-
generally, that area is the area we're also looking at putting the building.
Okay.
But that area would be kind of the reception area where we would, you know, put up a tent or, you know, for a
Okay.
day use type
Yeah, I
of
was
thing.
just trying to get a feel for what was where in relation to the property lines.
Yes, the bridal area was to, obviously for the bridesmaids to get dressed in, that kind of thing there. We've been looking at trying maybe consolidating into the building, the main building, and put it all in one, just due to the way the impact fees are structured, so we've been reviewing that, but they'll all be right in that main area right there. Like I said, most of our property is wooded, so that area has some open, kind of prairie land where the events will be held.
Okay, yeah, so it looks like that, tent location that you're talking for construction looks to be about 600 feet, then 400 feet or so off the property line. Okay, just trying to
Oh.
envision the layout a little.
Yeah.
Do you plan a commercial kitchen or just catering?
No, just catering only.
Okay. Okay. And you talked a bit about noise mitigation, fencing, gravel parking. Alrighty. Those were the questions I had at this point. Just at this point, I would invite any public comment on this,
Yes, thank
and
you.
then we'll ask you back up. Thanks. Alrighty, for public comment, we offer 3 minutes to the individual that would like to comment on the project itself. Would ask if you do make public comment that you provide your name and address so we can capture it for the record. Do we have anybody that would like to give public comment, ma'am?
My name is Deborah Thomas. I live at 19400 North Elbert Road, which is catty corner from their property. I can see their property very clearly right from the road because there's just not that many pine trees absorbing noise. I moved here, not next to Red Rocks or City Odd, more than 20 years ago, peace and quiet, not to have my neighborhood turned into a commercial strip. It's zoned agricultural and residential, not commercial. I have been told I cannot get any water for agricultural reasons because it's already oversubscribed for houses. But they're just gonna turn a residential well into a commercial well of unlimited use. I don't think that's gonna be good for me. They're talking about smoking in a high fire danger area, and that the smokers are gonna have to leave the fun, the food, the festivities to smoke safe. Right. They're talking about catering liquor to large groups, which leads to drunk driving, litter, noise, and irresponsible behavior, including trespass on the neighboring properties. Noise. The couple of dogs that are directly across the street can be heard 2 miles away. Day and night. I've heard them. I hear them even driving along the road. A few trimmed pines are not going to contain a DJ and sound system and hundreds of drinking people. Noise complaints are already ignored by the county. Traffic. After this blind curve, only 2 to 3 cars can stop, waiting to make a left turn after the blind curve before they cannot be seen until you come out of the curve. The double yellow lines and speed limits are already being ignored by traffic passing through, including the large trucks avoiding I-25. Many of the persons coming here would not understand the dangers of wildlife on the roads, especially at night. We have a large possibility of accidents right there with the left turns. It's not like there's really a need for this operation. Within less than 15 miles, there are 2 other wedding centers, the Younger Wedding Center and Hidery Center, several parks, the Elbert Mercantile Building, the J-Bar CC Ranch, and the Boy Scout Ranch. I have noticed many irregularities in this application. Very few of the landowners that would be affected by this were given written notifications. I passed mine around, and a lot of them had never seen anything. Of the 2 notifications that I did receive, they were backdated. The Whitcombs claimed to be acting as good neighbors, but I never even saw them until October of 2020. The Planning and Development Committee had already decided to approve their application as shown by their PowerPoint before they even heard public comment. I feel that destroying our neighborhood is not a good idea, and I am very much against this.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other public comment at this time, sir?
My name is Dale Bonfelt. I reside, and my wife Sue reside at 19555 North Elbert Road. We've been there for 20 years. Our property borders this would be the north side of the proposed wedding venue. We've attended all the meetings, and I spoke to Greg from the beginning when this first started. I have an issue. The only response they have shown on your PowerPoint was Lance Schnepp about trespassing. I have got pages of oppositions that have never been addressed. It leads you to believe like he's the only one who said anything about it. Not so. Said we've been there for 20 years. I raised cattle on that side of the property. In your own plan, you say within the harmony or character of the neighborhood. I'm not trying to negate whether they should have this or not, but I do not believe it's for special use because it is not within harmony of all of us. You know, we're a zoned agricultural property, which you already know. And I'm trying not to be redundant here. I know there's quite a bit going on. Now, the fire thing, I spoke to the fire department just this morning, and they're not requiring any mitigation. When I understand 4 acres has been mitigated, but they're requesting use for 88 acres. And I know this property. I knew Terry Schmidt for 20 years. I've been over every inch of that property. And there's never been a cow on there, there's never been any grazing on there, and the entire 80 acres is being considered for this venue, not 4 acres. So I'm concerned about that. In light of what we've seen this year with historical fires and the Black Forest fire, Now we're gonna have 150 people walking around possibly 88 acres. And the noise abatement, we talked about it. We sit on our patio and we can hear conversations from over there at normal volume. We can hear the JCC, which is 3 miles away. Now we're gonna have music and people drinking at 10 o'clock, 11, I don't know how late. And for our peace and quiet, this is why we live out where we live. And I just talked to the fire department this morning, and they said that it's the guy who wrote this off. He said, to his knowledge, they have not gone out and walked the property. He based his decision on submittals that were given to him. So according to him, Jim, I think his name was Alex or Alexis, that he had never seen the property. So he has no idea about the mitigation that could be done with that. What else I have here? Another thing we're concerned about is insurance liability. I know a lot of other wedding venues require their customers to carry liability insurance as far as with the alcohol and so on and so forth. If something was to happen and it was their fault or it happened there, who's gonna pay for replacing our houses? We have no proof that we have any kind of liability insurance whatsoever.
Commissioners have 3 minutes.
Okay, I apologize, but you know, quick closing, we've attended all these meetings and we've seen letters, I've not heard one neighbor who's in favor of this. At the last Zoom meeting, I counted 20 people attended. Not everybody was against this to some degree, and that has not been addressed at all. Okay, I'm sorry, I took more than 3 minutes.
No, that's okay, sir. And just to note, the letters that have been sent were part of the packet, so if you didn't see something listed on the screen, everything that was provided to staff or to us and then put in the packet is part of the public record. Do we have anybody else who would like to speak? Yes, sir.
I'm Marianne Ridings, 18615 North Elbert Road. It's just a little bit south of this proposed event center. Pretty much in compliance with everyone else. I moved down here for the peace, the quiet, to get away from the city, the sirens, the noise, the traffic. And that's gonna all be destroyed. I like the wildlife. I like to sit out in the evening, listen to birds, watch the deer, the elk. And I just don't think that that's gonna happen if we let this. Is there a noise ordinance in Elbert County?
There is, it's, I think, termed a nuisance house ordinance, but it covers many different nuisances.
So it's supposed to be done by 9 o'clock?
I believe 10 o'clock, but I don't have it before me.
Will it affect our taxes, the surrounding property?
No, a portion, if it's zoned and taxed based on use, it should be taxed at a commercial rate. So, but it wouldn't affect the.
I just pretty much agree with everyone else. I just don't think this is the proper venue for this or location for it. There's plenty of other places. Traffic is a real concern of mine. Trucks travel down that highway. I mean, at speeds higher than, I know one deputy sheriff told me he stopped somebody doing 85 miles an hour on Elbert Road, and it's 55 and people drive way too fast as it is. And cars stacking up there to turn left, truck comes around that curve, and I think it's a serious problem. At any rate, I just don't think it's a good idea.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So my name is Sue Von Felt, and I live at 19555 North Elbert Road, and we are the nearest neighbors, and so noise is going to be a big part of our life now. But what I'm also concerned about is the decrease in our property value. If we were to sell the property, who would want to live next to a wedding venue where they would have noise? I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anyone else who would like to speak If not, I'll close public comment at this time. And invite the applicant back up to respond to what you've heard, and ask my fellow commissioners to kind of think about any questions they may have. Thank you.
Did you have any specific questions, or?
Based on public comment, the one thing I would ask is if you would accept an additional condition, if this moves forward, to have a mitigation plan in writing that is coordinated with the Elbert Fire District, just that they come out and walk the property with you and determine.
We have had them out. I don't know why they didn't know that, but we have had them out, and yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd be
that would
willing
be,
to have the mitigation plan.
I think it would be appropriate to really define the areas that you intend to have.
We don't intend on using all the acreage, it's just the one area.
Okay. Yeah. Any questions?
You just asked the question that I have on my list here, is that prior to you opening for business, it's really just what Chris said, would you be willing to have the fire department come out and say, yeah, everything's in place?
Yeah,
And then
no
one
problem.
of the things I'd probably make as part of that is that our compliance officer would agree that you'd met that condition.
Yeah, that's fine.
One question I had was, they brought up about liability insurance. What kind of liability insurance do you have for the wedding venue and things like that?
We will have venue insurance, the business will have insurance. We also will have, there is a company called WedSafe. Each event will hold $1 million of insurance themselves. And then any vendor that comes on the property, we will also make sure they are licensed and have insurance.
And then, it didn't get brought up today, but it's been talked about in previous meetings that the alcohol will be only served by, we're not looking for a liquor license, would only be served by a licensed company such as Peak Beverages, the one we've been talking to, and they have, tip certified, bartenders who serve the alcohol to make sure, and it'll be, primarily a beer and wine type event with a maximum amount of how much alcohol can be consumed per event.
Then, do you have any hours of operation that you're planning on, or?
Don't really know at this moment.
Yeah, we didn't really set a specific end time, but we will be hosting, be on site for the event. So we could put in there the events would end by 10 o'clock. Or music off by 10 o'clock. I mean, that would be a reasonable request that we could accommodate.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's consistent with the nuisance home ordinance that's enforceable within the county too, so. Okay, and we can add that as a condition that you would comply with the existing nuisance ordinances.
Sure.
Any comments or final comments from staff? Okay. Yeah, I think the final graphic, if approved, I think would need to include some boundary of the area that you plan to use for the venue, in terms of how it's assessed for taxes. That just ends any future debate with the assessor of what part of the property may be commercial. It sounds relatively treed. I don't know whether tree farm or there's other agricultural use for the rest of the property that you've envisioned. That makes it much cleaner for
Sure. Yeah.
to determine what's happening exactly where on the property.
I don't have any other questions, but the conditions of approval that we have added, are they acceptable to you?
Yeah, they would be acceptable.
Yeah, at that point, I'd like to just, if you captured those, Greg, or we take about a 5-minute recess, so those can just be put in writing, so as we go forward for any consideration, we know exactly what we're asking you to sign up for,
Okay.
and you will see that as well. Yeah, if you could have the mitigation plan that's been reviewed and executed by, or verified by the compliance officer, the compliance with the county's nuisance home ordinance and then the graphic to include the specific boundaries of what area will be used as the venue.
I have one quick question, Commissioner. If this is approved by review, is it reapproved annually, or is it just a one-time approval?
Okay, well, that's happening. I guess we're technically in recess, but I'll take your question. The question, just for those that may be watching or the video later or online now, was are SURs approved and reviewed annually, or SUR is not a permanent entitlement. It's a special use as long as conditions continue to be met. They are reviewable annually, and I don't have the language in front of me, but generally a certain number of complaints within a certain time frame will trigger a review. Yeah, we'll reconvene in a couple of moments.
Hey, I have a question. Excuse me, I know we're in recess, but who the heck do we complain to?
To the Community Development Services.
So to Greg.
Yeah.
So, so if we have an issue, we call the sheriff's department or the fire department, or it's all good.
I need to take a step out of the microphone. I'll address that when I come back.
I can't pause it. I can't reset.
Yeah, I know.
We don't get a reset.
Right, exactly.
So you guys are still busy up there with motor vehicles and everything?
Our volume's down a little bit this month because we've been getting close to the
Yeah. Because the election.
close on election and then the holiday last week.
Yeah.
But it looks like if we have a good day tomorrow, we'll be on track for $1 million.
Is that right?
Crazy.
Just so you guys know, we're still live. She just said she's gonna burn the place down.
You gonna do what?
On the record.
You gonna do what?
She's gonna burn the place down.
I've already had people in our roping sheds, I mean, who are drunk, just walking the road, I agree.
Now they're sending us the same. We have 8 or 10 different ACH transactions that said they completed, but they didn't. So I gotta go back and research them and see if they actually went to another cost share.
Yeah. ACH and motor vehicle.
We're doing each check there. You know, this one's only 2.5 years old. Should be working, right?
No, you would think so.
They've got UCI shut down, so we're not getting any new plate orders or anything for who knows how long.
CCI.
The Colorado Correctional Institute.
Oh, okay.
So all of our print on demand, all the specialty plates, nothing's been done since October 8th. afraid of my truck they're gonna have to be stealing from other counties. That'd probably be 3 months for me.
Nobody moved there to live in.
They were doing the sit round in the morning. I got them.
See what's going on, shouldn't be much.
Or whenever.
Okay.
Right, you could argue numerous points on that presentation that just don't meet the standard. Drink on the 88X and full on the no trespassing.
So you had a full staff in motor vehicle?
Yeah, everybody's there now.
Yeah.
Got some holiday stuff coming up for people.
Yeah, well, yeah,
That's the way it goes.
normal.
And Debbie put into $4 or $5.
Because you got the chickens that have eggs.
Did lunch one day, it's probably after she's done up there, so,
For being there has been good for her, I think.
yeah. So you think the first of the year should be back full time, huh?
She's hoping to get the stamina.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the pace at which change occurs. So, you know, you're talking gradual, we're talking supersonic here. So,
Supposedly it's going to say, office buildings at 10% capacity.
Not gonna have beef at home. Yeah. Who knows?
You guys still getting a lot of refis?
Yeah, we're getting some. Not like they were.
No, cycle type. We'll do it and then we'll go away.
Well, it depends on the interest rate and how many people get it done. There's a lot of them that refis than they did it a year ago. And refi again.
I know. It's probably hard to refi now when they teach. Because they were psychotic about discussing in the house. They probably called HR 4 or 5 times to verify my employment. And they both put my husband 4 or 5 times. Like we lost our, you know, like they still employed. Still employed.
The interest rate staying about where they were.
We'll come back in session here in a moment. Alrighty, we'll come out of recess. The time's now 1:51. For the applicant, these were kind of the additional items we spoke about. If there's any issues, or if you would accept those additional ones.
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay, thank you. So just kind of, that's the playing field we're at now. There were some questions before during the recess regarding who would complaints be made to, noise, other activities or violations of the nuisance home ordinance can be made to 911 and law enforcement, and or the compliance officer. I mean, in the, an ongoing nuisance for law enforcement to respond and record and potentially cite, and then if it's after the fact, it would be to CDS, Community Development Services and Compliance Officer. There was a comment made about the slide showing that approval had been made. I think it's the same slide we saw today, which was staff having reviewed referrals, was recommending approval be the recommendation of the Planning Commission. It doesn't start with an approval rolling forward. Any comments? Or?
No, that's the best comment is, it has not been approved. It is, that staff has just recommended approval. And there has been cases in the past where the staff has recommended approval and it has not passed.
One other, I just did want to address the permitting of wells and the allocation of water. That is a state function. If an approval were granted today, that doesn't mean that we have the authority to designate how much water can be used or can't be used, or what use it can be used for. That is a state decision. Obviously, a well would have to be permitted for the use, but that's not a decision that's made in this venue. So, barring any further comments from my fellow commissioners, I'd accept a motion and any final discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I am going to move that we approve SU-20-0011 and explicitly state that includes the acceptance of the conditions of approval, because I think they're important.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve with the conditions as listed, and additional. Any final discussion? Yeah, I would just say for the applicant, if the final vote is approval, clearly there's a little bit of coordination with neighbors. I mean, there's obviously some concerns in the area. I just hope you work with your neighbors and continue to mitigate the impacts off the property. Thank you. So with that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. I accept a motion to close public hearing on this item.
I'll make a motion, we close public hearing on Redbird Wedding and Event Venue SU-20-0011.
Second.
A motion and a second to close public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Public hearing is closed on this item. The second item we have is a continuation of the Silver Creek Sporting Club SUR. I would accept a motion to reopen this hearing at this time.
I'll make a motion, we reopen Silver Creek Sporting Club SU 18-0067.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to reopen the Silver Creek Sporting Club SUR hearing at this time. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And this one As the agenda indicated, due to staff availability, we were intending to continue this item. It's fairly lengthy and complex. There was a family emergency and the planners was out of pocket for about a week, and we didn't feel it was fair to applicant or community or the primary staff person on this to throw right back into this hearing. So, and with that, I'll hold for a minute because the applicant's representative is apparently on the phone out in the hallway, so we need to come up with a date certain to continue to. No problem. I know the next date we had available was the 9th of December. I think there were a couple of others. I'm not sure if you've had a chance to discuss with staff what your preference is.
We're thinking January 13th.
Okay. So January 13th, I would accept a motion to continue this hearing until January 13th, 2021 at 1 p.m. at this location.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we continue the application review of SU 20-001. Oops, I'm on the wrong one. SU 18-0067 till January the 18th. Is that the number? The 13th at 1 o'clock. At this location.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this hearing until January 13th at 1 p.m. at this location. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I would accept a motion to close hearing on this item at this point.
I'll make a motion, we close the hearing on Silver Creek Sporting Club, SU 18-0067. Second.
A motion and a second to close public hearing at this time on Silver Creek Sporting Club, SUR 18-0067. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, CJ. All right, the next item we have yeah, okay. I guess CJ, we have you up again. It's the request for an extension to the Peak Vistas filing too. Is there any staff presentation on this or? Okay, I think we've all received the material, so I guess I just asked CJ to state your case.
CJ Kirst, Title Consulting, 5730 East Otero Avenue, Centennial 80192.
You'll have to lift that up a little higher because I can't hear you.
How's this? Good. All right. Well, as you know, we requested an extension in May, I want to say. That is due to expire December 12th, I think was the 180-day mark. And Rio Grande Alameda called me a couple weeks ago and just said, look, you know, we're still scrambling a little bit here with things that have impacted them, and if they'd like another extension. We realize it exceeds what you guys typically allow for, but all you can do is ask. So they've asked for another year. I know that's a huge stretch. I told them, but I told them I'd request it.
Yeah, and I could not go for a year because I think it's excessive. We've already given you a 180-day extension, and even in the best case, asking for any more than a 180-day extension to me is excessive. And the thing is, and I understand the COVID and all these other good things, but on the other side of the coin, the idea of having these kind of applications hanging in the air forever or a long period of time, I think is that they should have a natural death. I'm willing to go along for 180 days, but that's it.
Yeah, I agree. I can't see extending it for another year.
Yeah, that was kind of my thoughts as well, as another 6 months. And I think at that point, if it's going to trickle over that, we really have to look at, potential regulatory changes, impact fee changes, there's other things that may occur. Generally, we find ourselves getting into more of a bind when we're trying to deal with very aged entitlements. So I think 6 months works for me as well.
I think that would be fine, like I said.
Yeah, so I just accept a motion to extend for another 6 month period.
And if you come back for another 6 months after this one, like Chris just pointed out, then we get into a problem with our regulations and all of these kind of things. So at this time, I make a motion that we grant the second extension to Pikes Peak Vistas filing number 2, RZ 190095 and FP-190097 with a limited extension to 6 months.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second on the table. Actually, before we go to a vote, just curious, has there been any work commenced on the first portion of the project? Or I haven't, okay. I didn't think I'd seen any activity up there. So we got a motion and a second on the table. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 6 month extension is granted.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, CJ. Okay, the final item I have today, and I'm pretty sure I know who it pertains to, is the Monifo rezone 19-0018. I'd accept a motion to open this for public hearing.
I make a motion we open RZ 19-0018 for public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to open public hearing on rezone 19-0018. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We're in public hearing. Looks like, Greg, you've got the helm again. So.
Great, thank you guys. Like you said, we're taking a look at Monifo, case number RZ-19-0018. This is a request to rezone 60.005 acres from Agriculture A to Agriculture 2, A2. The landowner in this case is Rebecca Monifo. The size of the property is 60.005 acres. It's located at 36412 Paradise Circle, Elizabeth. This site is 1.15 miles northeast of County Road 21 and County Road 146 intersection, and that's measured as the crow flies. A pre-application meeting was originally held way back November 30th, 2017. Water issues held up that application. It ended up expiring, and the applicants came back through and made another formal submittal, the one we're hearing today, on March 1st, 2019. And the referral process for this, the first referral began March 26th, 2019 and ended April 17th, 2019. Water was sorted out and put out for a second referral, 14-day period, which began September 30th and ended October 14th of this year, 2020. And today, the Board of County Commissioners is hearing this case November 18th, 2020. The existing conditions of the site is this is a 60.005 acre property located 1.15 miles northeast of the County Road 21 and County Road 146 intersection. This property is located at the terminus of Private Road 27, also known as Paradise Circle. Private Road 27 is approximately 2/3 of a mile long and serves 3 properties, including the parcel being considered for a rezone and minor subdivision. The topography of the site has a maximum elevation of 6,564 feet above sea level along the western property line and has a minimum elevation of 6,458 feet above sea level near the southeast corner of the property. The topography of the site is varied and rolling. The site has an overall grade change of 108 feet and an average slope of 5.5% running downhill from west to east. There are no 100-year floodplains in the project area. There is a riverine wetlands per the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service that is located in the northeast corner of the property and is in an area that is heavily treed. It really wouldn't make for a great building site. Trees and vegetation of the site, there are notable concentrations of native ponderosa pines in the northeast and northwest corners of the property. Native grasses typical of the high plains cover the majority of the site except for a low-lining drainage that is classified as wetlands by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Notice of public hearing was published in the Elbert County News on October 29th, 2020. Sign was posted on property October 30th, 2020, and mailings were made to property owners within 1,320 feet on October 30th, 2020. Here on the left, we have a photo of the sign posted on property. As well, on the right here, we have the notarized certification of sign posting. On the left, we have the notarized certification of mailing. On the right is the affidavit of publication. Here we have the vicinity map in the lower left-hand corner. You can see the town of Elizabeth, and in the upper right-hand corner is the site. Here's another vicinity map. On the left-hand portion of the picture is County Road 21. On the lower portion is County Road 146. And to the upper right of that is the site. Here we have a zoning map. It's primarily ag zone property immediately around the property. There are two PUDs, one in the upper left and one in the lower left. There's AR zoning to the southwest of the site and considerable amounts of RA1 zoning to the northwest of the site. It is worth noting that the property immediately to the west, the Carlson property, is currently being reviewed for a rezone and minor subdivision within CDS. They're proposing AR zone property, agriculture residential. Referral process, referral agencies the application was sent out to referral agencies per the Elbert County regulations. The Elbert County agencies receiving referral were the Building Department, Health and Human Services, Public Works, and the Assessor's Office. Outside agencies included the Intermountain Rural Electric Association, the Elizabeth Fire Protection District, Colorado Division of Water Resources, the Town of Elizabeth, Kinder Morgan, Phillips 66, the Natural Resource Conservation District, and the Elizabeth School District. Comments were received from the Elbert County Health and Human Services, Elbert County Assessor's Office, Elbert County Public Works, Colorado Department of Natural Resources, the Elizabeth Fire Protection District, and of these, like I mentioned, water was the main referral comment that took years to clarify and has been subsequently deemed to not cause any injury to surrounding water users. Again, this is a request to rezone 60.005 acres from Agriculture A to Agriculture 2. Here we have the graphic showing the rezone exhibit. The northernmost parcel is parcel A, and that's 40 acres, and parcel B is shown as 20 acres in the lower right-hand corner. Rezone criteria. Article 3C4 of the Elbert County Zoning Regulations lists review criteria A through F for all rezone requests. These 6 criteria are as follows. A, whether the proposed rezoning conforms to and is generally consistent with the goals and policies of the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. B, whether the proposed rezoning is compatible with surrounding land uses. C, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the provision of public services. D, whether the proposed rezoning would adversely impact the environment. E, whether the proposed rezoning would create unreasonable traffic congestion or burden the existing road system without improvements. And F, whether the proposed rezoning will not otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. Findings in this case, based on Article 3C4 of the Elbert County zoning regulations, staff finds the following. A, the proposed rezoning complies with the goals and policies outlined in the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. B, the land uses in the surrounding area are agricultural and single-family residential. These uses are compatible with the single-family residential use being proposed. C, the proposal will not adversely impact the provision of public services. Adequate access is included in the proposal, and the planned utilities will be extended to the newly created lot, parcel B. D, the proposal will not adversely impact the environment. E, the proposal will not create an unreasonable increase in the amount of automobiles that travel along County Road 146 or Private Road 27 on a daily basis. F, this proposal will not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. Staff has the following evaluation based on the goals and policies outlined in the Elbert County Comprehensive Plan. The land use goals for residential development outlined on page 55 states the following. Quote, Elbert County supports residential development by encouraging a range of lot sizes and residential densities associated with available roads and infrastructure, and by encouraging the designation of open space and the preservation of areas of visual, historic, and natural consequence. Recommendations and conditions of approval. In consideration of the staff findings above, and as we understand it, that there are no objections from other governing bodies, Community and Development Services, and the Planning Commission recommend approval of Monifo RZ-19-0018, subject to the following three conditions. Condition 1, the applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of approval by the Board of County Commissioners. 2, the rezone shall not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the rezone exhibit is recorded. And condition 3, recordation of all appropriate documentation is to occur within 180 days of the Board of County Commissioners' approval. Thank you. I'll take any questions.
Yeah, so is there a concurrent subdivision process going through administratively, or is this just?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd invite the applicants up to speak. Yeah, just name and address for the record.
Rebecca Monifo, 36412 Paradise Circle.
Is there anything you'd like us to know in addition to what we've heard?
Not really, just to clarify, we live now on the other 40 acres, we'll live on the 60, and to make that clear, and we've lived there for what, 10 years? The house has been built since 2004. 50? So, regarding the extension, we were trying to solve issues with the neighbors too. We had a neighbor that was concerned about traffic, and we agreed to put up concrete around the corner for him, and we did that. It's already in place, and that's with conjunction with the Carlsons, which is doing basically the same as we are. The water issue took a long time, but I think it was because we didn't understand the process, partly. And we finally had the water district okay a 300-year plan based on, right now, pursuant to the regs, that we already have, what's it called?
Augmentation plan for
the
water
water
right here.
Yeah, that we already own. It already allows us to put 2 additional wells on the property and build 2 different structures. So we're not, this proposal isn't adding anything or giving us any extra rights that we don't really already have, other than going through the permit process for the water. We already have not adjudicated, but designated from the water board all different water below our property as we sit right today, even without our hearing today being approved. So, I think we've done
as far as any concern we had some concerns yesterday about the water from the same neighbor. We agreed to put the barriers up, which doesn't make any sense, but the 300-year water plan is what we got from it, based on 3 wells, 2 additional wells besides that there. So I think we have covered any kind of reasonable issues with this property, unless you have some more you'd like to ask about.
I'm fairly comfortable with what you've provided and what staff had. Do you have any other questions or comments? Yeah, I guess the only other comment I've made, I appreciate you working with your neighbors.
We tried.
So with that, I'd accept a motion to approve the rezone as presented.
I'll make a motion that we approve, rezone -19-0018.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve rezone 19-0018. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
We appreciate your time.
After 2 years, this is probably a
Rush to the end with last night's hearing and tonight's.
Thanks for working with the neighbors, not everybody does.
All right, so with that, I'd accept a motion to close public hearing on this item.
I'll make a motion, we close, public hearing on RZ-19-0018.
Second.
Motion and second to close public hearing. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. I've got the time is now 2:18. I'd accept a motion to adjourn for the day.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.